Alright, welcome back to Crabby, and today we're going to be starting the Middara Unintentional Malum Act 1 playthrough. Alright, so this is a dungeon crawly game and it's really good mechanically and the story is really fun. It's one of my favorites, up there with Gloomhaven. Really good game if you can get your hands on it. Alright, now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through some of the missions, showing you the rules, how to play, what's going to be happening, the interaction, how to level up your characters and all that jazz. Alright, so one thing that I'm not going to be doing is spoiling the story. If you do want to follow the story, you got a couple of options. You can read the Spark Notes off the Succubus Publishing website, or you can even download the Foreteller app. Everything's voice acted. All this text here, it's really well done. I would really recommend doing so if you want to follow the story. Alright, but I'm going to be giving you a very high level of what is happening in the story, so you're not totally lost. And basically, we're sort of in a high school setting. You got your four characters here, Nightingale, Zeke, Rook, and Remy. Nightingale and Zeke are sort of friends, and they have to go into this dungeon, and they have to be a team of four, so they get grouped up with Rook, who's this big beefy guy, and Remy, who seems to be an outcast, who's joining the group. Alright, and basically that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be starting this first mission over here to start the game. Alright, just to give you a short tutorial on how to set up a mission, basically set up the map exactly how you see here. On the left, you're going to have your win and loss conditions. In this one, pretty simple. If a character lands on the exit space here, we win. If all the characters are defeated, we lose. Alright, there's also some special text here which we need to follow. For example, we're going to be graded depending on how great we did throughout the dungeon. So we're going to keep track of our rounds. That's why for this one, I'm going to use this little die over here to track how many rounds we've gone through. And there's a little text blurb here on how to move this little red boulder that's blocking. Basically, we need to do a strength test to move it out of the way, all right, to make it through. All right, what's cool about this book and what's really unique is there's this red text panel thing, I don't even know what it's called, throughout this book, and you need to use the viewfinder to actually read the text, so everything's hidden. I mean, when you hit these totems or loot, you're going to read the text. Sometimes the map can get bigger, spawning enemies, half the map changes, things are going to happen. All right, for this mission it is really simple, so it's not going to change that much, and you can pretty much tell with these capesicle cards that I've already ready, that's what's going to happen. We're going to spawn some capesicles, but it should be all hidden for you before you go. All right, so let's not waste any more time on this. And let's just jump to it, all right? So this is MAST Day 1, first mission of the game. Let's move this book. Does weigh a ton. And here we go, let's get started. So as you see, I've set it up exactly like you saw in the book. All right, and let's set up our initiative deck. All right, so to start off, when you do the setup phase, you place your characters exactly where it says in the book. So it's these two spots and these two spots, and I just randomly placed them out. So we have Nightingale, Zeke, Rook, and Remy over here. All right, so start off the game, we got our initiative cards. All right, give it a good shuffle. And I'm just gonna splay them, and that's gonna be our initiative for this round. All right, so here we go. So this is gonna be round 1, and our initiative right now, let me just toss these cards over, is gonna be Zeke, then Remy, then Nightingale, followed by Rook. All right, so Zeke is gonna go first. So Zeke has a movement of 6, and let's go look at his character card actually before we move. All right, so this is Zeke's playing area. As you can see, this is his card. You know, there's some useful information I'll go over in a couple seconds. These are his equipped weapons. He's got a core equipped and a armor equipped, and he's got some consumables over here. The only thing he doesn't have right now is a relic, but we're sure to get those eventually. All right, so when you're looking at a character card, just give you a brief overview. We do generate 3 SP every round. These are sort of your action points. You do have your special ability here for Zeke. Throughout the game, his special ability is he gets to re-roll dodge attacks. So if you do want to dodge, let's say at a thing that lets me dodge, or if I really want to spend the action points to dodge, then I'll be able to re-roll my dice. Consumables are one shots, you know, basically discard them to do their ability. I got some armor here, you're going to see that it adds to my stats, and I got a couple weapons. Now down here, these are your skills. So when you do skill checks in the game, you're going to roll 2 purple dice and add these numbers to it, which is pretty good. And then down here is your basic stats. So you have health of 12, you have a defense of 9, and you have a movement of 6. But remember, you might have weapons and stuff that adds to it. For example, this adds to my defense, so my defense is technically 10. And this adds to my armor and to my life total. So I have 16 life, 10 defense, and 1 armor in total with Zeke. All right, and my movement is 6. That's what we wanted to see. All right, so this one is Zeke, and let's get to it. All right, so we're gonna go 1, All right, I'm gonna pause there for 1 second because now I'm gonna show you something special that Zeke can do with his weapons. All right, let's take a quick look at his weapons. All right. Nothing special going on here on the top. These are the dice you're gonna roll when you go in combat. So it's gonna be 2 purples. These are one-handed weapons. These signs means that it's a melee weapon. All right, but what I want to point out is here I can exhaust this weapon to move 1 space diagonally because movement in this game is always orthogonal. All right, let's say I want to move here. Normally I would have to go 1, 2 and waste a movement point to go right and down. Right, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna exhaust both these cards. So during my movement I can go diagonally 2 times. All right, and in this game, because I don't want to tap my things, I'm going to be using these white indicators to show when I've tapped something, so that every round I just have to remove the white squares, and it'll just be easier than tapping on this cloth, which is really hard. All right, so basically I'm going to go diagonally twice and I have 6 movements. So I go 1, 2, 3, right? I'm going to go 4, 5, 6. All right, now what's gonna happen is as soon as I hit this space, or if I went into this space over here, this totem is gonna see me. Now totems are something special in the game. They have unlimited range, and as soon as they hit line of sight to any character, they're gonna activate. What you're gonna do is obviously go into the book, use the red viewfinder, and see what it says in the text. And for this totem, what it says is you're gonna spawn 2 monsters next to that totem. So I already went ahead and read it, so I'm not gonna waste your time, but spawn 2 next to that totem. So it was over here, so I'll spawn 2 here. Now I have 2 different groups that we're gonna have to generate. So you have a group 1 and a group 2. I'm gonna put group 2 up here, so green, and let's say these 2. The bases are gonna tell you what group they're from, so these 2 match over here. And then it's gonna say also in the text, place 2 on the south side of tile UM11. So the south side is the bottom row. Think of it like north, east, south, west, right? The north is always going that way. And I'm gonna place these 2 right over here. Boom. So now I'm done my movement. Oh, before I forget, I did forget to do one very important thing. Movement costs 1 action point. All right, so I'm gonna use up that action point. Very sorry about that. Let's do things in order. Movement is an action point. Attacking is 2 action points, and other things cost action points in the game. All right, there you go. So I'm done with my movement. I generated the capsicles, and now I continue my turn. Now, if I was, for example, here, and I had used only 4 movement and the totem saw me, well, then I activate the totem, and then I can keep moving afterwards, right? You interrupt your current turn to read the text in the book, and then you continue. But because I finished my movement and then the totem saw me, I'm gonna be there anyway, so it doesn't really matter. All right, so now there you go. That was my first thing. Next, what I'm going to do is attack. All right, let's get rid of some of these capsicles so that they don't come. There's not that many on the board, because they do get stronger the more they're on the board. And we're going to talk about that later when we talk about their attacks. All right, but before I do attack them, one thing you do have to do is every time you spawn monsters in the game, if they don't have their initiative card already on the row, you're going to add it to the person right after it's the person's current turn. So right now it is Zeke, so we're going to be adding initiative cards for both the monsters in the card row. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these both here. All right, so they're going to activate as soon as Zeke finishes their turn. That's why I want to try to kill some before they attack him back. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an attack. But before I waste action points to do an attack, what I'm going to do is actually use my Blade Works skill. And it says, this is a martial level 1 skill, and this is the one you start off with in the game. It says if you have 2 one-handed weapons equipped, which I do, as you saw before, make an attack. So basically I'm going to exhaust this by tapping it, but remember I use these cards just to put on top to say that I've used it. And it says to do an attack. All right, and the attack I'm going to do is I'm going to attack this purple capsicle right over here. All right, now in this game, whenever you attack through or into hindered terrain, you have -1 to the attack. So when you attack diagonal, you actually pick which way you're attacking from. So I'm gonna actually go from the bottom so I don't get that -1 penalty. But if both of these were hindered terrain, I would get the -1 penalty. All right, so now I'm gonna do an attack. All right, like the card said, and my attack is based on my weapons. Now my weapons here, another thing we need to look at. All right. It says over here, if you combo with another light weapon, and these are light weapons, you're gonna have a finesse and you're gonna change the dice into white dice instead of purple dice. So what I'm actually gonna do is, because both of them combo light, because they're the exact same weapon, they're both short swords, I'm gonna roll 2 white dice. All right, so I'm gonna go to my dice pool here. And what you're trying to do, obviously I'm gonna explain to you what we're trying to do, is you're trying to hit at least the defense of the enemy. All right, so the defense here is 8. All right, so I'm gonna show you if I hit, what's gonna happen. So I'm gonna roll 2 dice, and I rolled a 10. Perfect. All right, so I did hit. All right, so as long as you have a meet the number of the defense, you hit. So now you're gonna start off by damage by calculating the difference, and that's the base damage. So this is gonna be a 10 minus 8. So I'm starting off at 2 damage. Another thing you're gonna look at are the symbols that you're rolling. So if I got any star bursts, I'm gonna get +1 damage, and every 2 shields is gonna give me +2 damage. All right, so I'm gonna look at my dice here. You're gonna see I rolled 3 shields, which I'm gonna waste 1 shield because 2 shields is gonna be 2 extra damage. So in total, it's gonna be 10 minus 8, which is 2, plus 2. It's gonna be 4 damage in total, and that's what I'm gonna deal to the Capesicle. So I'm not going to deal with those health chips because these Capesicles don't have that much health. So I'm just going to deal 4 damage to this Capesicle. Now, I would reduce that damage if they had armor. But as you can see over here, for physical armor, they have 0. So they're going to take the damage every time. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is for Zeke is I'm actually going to throw a throwing knife at the damaged Capesicle that I just attacked. All right, and this does not cost an action point. It's basically you just toss a purple die, and the number you roll here is the damage you give to the Capesicle. Now he's only got 2 life left, so as long as I roll over 2 or more, he's gonna die. So I'm gonna discard this into the discard pile of my mundane items. I'm gonna give it a roll. I got the most. I could have killed it outright with this roll. Anyway, but I killed this Capesicle. There you go. He's off the board. Pretty simple. All right, and I'm going to remove his health die. Okay, so another thing I do have to mention is when you kill enemies in this game, normally you would draw from the loot deck, but because there's swarms and there's multiple in that group, you're only going to draw the loot after all the monsters of that swarm are dead. So once this guy dies, then I'll draw a loot card. All right, so we're not done with Zeke. He's still going at it, still going strong. He's going to use his last 2 action points here to attack the other Capesicle. All right, so what he's going to do, he's going to do the exact same thing. He's going to take his 2 white dice. He's going to roll. He's going to try to get an 8. He's giving it a roll. He drew a 9. Well, he rolled a 9. All right. Remember, 2 shields, so it's going to be 1 damage plus 2 more. It's going to be 3 damage in total. So we can get my die, and I just dealt it 3 damage. All right, and that's it for Zeke. There's not much he can do. If he really, really wanted to get rid of that Capesicle, he could throw his throwing knife, but then I'm going to be using all my throwing knives this first encounter. Let's see what else he can do. When making a dodge, I can exhaust this, but I don't have any SP to dodge. So I think he's done. All right, that's a pretty good turn. I killed 1 Capesicle, and I almost killed completely the other one. All right, so let's move on. That was Zeke's turn, so when I finish their initiative, I'll move them down. So let's move on to Capesicle 1 to 3, which is only this guy now. All right, so when activating enemies, pretty simple. One of the best aspects of this game and why I love it, you don't have to remember rules for how enemies work and all that stuff. You just have to read the cards, and that's awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at the Capesicle card. All right, so like I mentioned, just like the heroes, they have their stats down here: armor, their movement, their defense, and their health. All right, so that's what I forgot to show you before, but that's their health. We try to get to 6 and kill them. All right, this passive section is just ongoing abilities they always have. So the top part is they're immune to poison, so you can't poison these guys, obviously. And the hive mind is if there's multiple in the same SOI, which is sphere of influence. I'm going to show you that later because they're going to move over and add to the sphere of influence anyway. Then their dice are going to get better. All right, so let's go through the card. So this works like a flow chart. So you're going to do the first one. If it's true, you activate it. If it's false, you'll go on to the next one and activate it. If this one's false, you're going to go on to the next one and activate it. And if this one's false, then you'll do something special by adding an aggro token, but you probably won't end up doing that for the first couple of missions. All right, so first thing, is there an opponent adjacent? Why, yes there is, it's Zeke. All right, perfect. All right, so it says, make an attack roll against the opponent. All right, follow up, so follow up is if it hits, whether you did damage or not, then you'll do a follow up, which is do another attack. And if that one hits, then it does a follow up, which is another attack. So these guys can hit up to 3 times per turn with the first one, which is pretty punishing if there's a ton of them all right next to you. All right, so what he's going to do is he's going to attack Zeke. So looking at his dice here, because there's no other capsicles in his sphere of influence, he's just going to roll 2 white dice. And the number he's trying to hit is, remember, Zeke has 9 plus 1, so he has 10 defense. So with these two, he's got to roll 10, which is not likely going to happen, but we'll see. And he rolled a 6, which means this capsicle completely whiffed on his attack. All right, because he whiffed, he's not going to do the follow. He's not going to do the follow-up action to attack again. All right, basically that was that capsicle's action. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the next group. All right, so that was this group. We're going to activate 4 to 6, which are these guys. All right, so the first one we're going to activate is blue. All right, so just like before, basically these two cards are exactly the same. So just to save space, let me just put them on top like this. And they're going to follow the same flow chart over here. So is there a guy adjacent? No, there is not. All right, now, is there a guy within 4 spaces? So, calculating range, just move diagonally as well. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. No, not even close to 4. So that's not true. And the third one is, can you move and attack somebody within 4? Which is yes. All right, because enemies will move closer and try to attack you. All right, so if he moved here, 1, 2, 3, 4, he still would not be close enough. So what this guy is actually going to do, he's going to move 1, and then he's actually going to jump this pit to get closer to try to attack me. So he's going to go 1, 2, and then when he's here, now he's within 4, so now it's going to get activated. All right, but before we do need to roll to see if he survived this jump. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the black die, you're going to roll it, and if you roll a skull, then this guy actually killed himself. All right, it's not likely going to happen, 1 out of 6, but we'll see. And of course not, it didn't happen. All right, so now that he's here, he's going to do a ranged attack against Zeke. All right, so ranged attack, you're going to use the same exact stats as the melee attack. All right, but this time the hive mind will come into effect. All right, so it says, the capsicles, combat dice, and defense change depending on how many capsicles are within his sphere of influence. So his sphere of influence is like a 4 range circle all around them. All right, so think of 1, 2, 3, 4, all right, and all around. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be this by gigantic circle. So there's one other capsicle within his sphere of influence. So if there's one other, you're going to change, instead of having 2 white, you're going to have a white and an orange die. So you're going to take a white and an orange, and this is going to be his ranged attack. And it's just a basic range attack. There's nothing else that's going to happen afterwards. All right, so we're going to take this, and we're going to roll it. All right, and he rolled an 11, which is a hit. All right, because remember, Zeke's defense is 10, and he got an 11, so he's going to be taking at least 1 damage. All right, but is it only going to be 1? Well, let's take a look. Every shield is going to deal 1 extra damage. All right, so if we look at this die roll over here, he's got 2 shields. So in total, he has 1 and 2 more, so that's going to be 3 damage in total. All right, but remember, Zeke does have 1 armor from this. So instead of taking 3, because it's a melee attack, he's going to take, well, melee or range, it's a non-magic attack. He's going to minus 1 to that attack, so he's only going to be taking 2 damage in total. So I'm going to take a 2 damage over here, and I'm going to be adding it to Zeke's player card like this. So remember, his health in total is 12 plus 4, so 16. So he's still very healthy. All right, that was this guy. That was this guy. Now this guy's gonna go. All right, so they all need to activate. All right, so he's gonna do the exact same thing. Now, unfortunately, he can't jump this way. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna move 1, 2, 3, and he's gonna stay right over here. And again, we're gonna roll to see if he makes this jump. Come on, skull. Let's get lucky. Let's get lucky. And no, we didn't get lucky. All right. and he's gonna attack Zeke. Now his attack is, now there are two capsicles within his sphere of influence, because there's gonna be this guy and this guy. So he's gonna roll 2 orange dice, and he's gonna be trying to get a 10. So let's roll again. And unfortunately, he got a 9, which means he completely whiffed, whatever the word is. He completely whiffed on that attack. All right, I can't speak anymore. All right. And that's it. They both activated, so that means these guys are done. That means we're going to go on to Remy, which is the flying girl right over here. All right, for Remy, let's actually move the camera in a little closer. So Remy's going to go next. So let's take a look at her player area here. All right, so she's got her card just like Zeke. She's got her special ability. She's got her weapon, core, armor, and a couple of consumables here. The throwing knives just like Zeke. All right, so if you look at her special ability, she's all about flight and movement. So she can spend one SP to move in any direction once, and she can spend 2 to gain flight, which basically means ignore all terrain stuff on the board. Basically there's hindering terrain and these black pits that if you fall in you die. All right, her weapon is just a war axe that does a lot of damage because of her ability here, and a couple of other things. All right, so her movement is going to be 6, and she's gaining a +1 because of that right over there, so she has 7 movement. All right, so she's going to go and she's going to use an SP. I won't forget this time. So remember, movement costs an SP. And she's going to move 7. So she's here. She's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think she's going to go right over here. So she can attack this capsicle right over here. Boom. Right next to Zeke, attacking this capsicle. All right, next, what is she going to do? She's going to spend her last 2 SP to do a melee attack. And what we're going to do is we're going to use her war axe. All right, let's take a look at this war axe. All right, so what she's going to be doing is rolling 2 white dice. All right, this is a 2-handed weapon. It's melee. I can exhaust this so that when I check my damage, I gain the book +1 physical damage on the attack, so on and so on. I also do want to point out that her special ability over here is by default, she gets +1 physical damage, and I can exhaust it to re-roll a die if I'm using a 2-handed weapon, which is awesome because I am, because it's that massive warhammer. All right, so I'm gonna roll my 2 white dice. There's one rule that I do have to mention in this game. You could spend 1 SP to empower the action by rolling the black die after. I'll show you that after when we talk about Rook, but I don't have any SP to spend, so I'm not gonna talk about it now. All right, so what we're trying to do is, remember, we're trying to hit the 8 from the capsicle defense. So let's take a nice roll over here. And I rolled a 7, but remember I can re-roll. So I want to re-roll my 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exhaust this card. We just looked at it. Is I can re-roll any dice in my combat pool. All right, so I'm going to put a exhaust marker on it. And I'm definitely going to re-roll this 2 because it's terrible. And I rolled a 2, so I whiffed on the attack anyway. Well, that is terrible. All right, so she missed the attack, so what I think I'm going to do is just like Zeke, just like Zeke, I'm going to end up throwing my throwing knife, which is just purple straight up damage. So I want to roll a 3 to at least kill this capsicle because I really want to get it out of the way. So I'm going to roll, and I got a 5, which means I just straight up killed this guy. All right. And now you're going to see the loot system because I killed all the capsicles from this card. So you can basically discard this now from the game. You don't need it. And I'm going to draw a loot card. So we set up this deck at the beginning of the game. It's set to mundane. You do have to look at the rulebook to see how to set it up. It's made up of different treasure values and unique cards and all that stuff. So give it a good shuffle at the start of a mission. And you don't reshuffle this or put the discards back in until you do a restore step. Okay, so let's give it a good shuffle because this is the start of mission. And what do I get? Looks like I'm going to get 6 gold to share within the party. So I'm going to actually place this right over here to keep track of what we're going to get at the end of the mission. All right, and there you go. So that was it for Remy. So let's go down, and now let's take a look at Nightingale, who's this character right over here. And she's sort of our magic user, so she'll be able to move and blast one of these guys. All right, so let's take a look at Nightingale's cards over here. So this is her player sheet. Her special abilities, she can hand out action points or SP points to her party and 2 to herself. So we'll keep in mind that she can do that. She's got a couple of weapons here, defensive core, cult, and a couple of things here. So she can move at 6 plus 1 here. So she moves at 7. She's got a couple of defense, well, 1 defensive upgrade and a couple of health upgrades here. So her health is actually 12 plus 5, 17, which is really good. All right, so I'm gonna do a magic attack this round, so you're gonna see how magic works. All right, so remember, she moves at 7. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's say well, does she have to move here? 1, 2, 3. No, she can actually do her magic attack from right here. Actually, you know what? Let's go right here. So she moves 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go. Moving always orthogonally. All right. So what you're gonna do from here, because she's not in melee range and she doesn't have a ranged weapon, she's actually gonna do a magic attack against this cave sickle right over here. All right. So how does magic work? All right. So magic, we're gonna use our skill, and her skill is gonna be Gore Shot. All right. So let's move this closer to the camera. All right. So you can exhaust this card to do a spell 6, and it basically does 2 damage, and then I could deal myself 2 damage to deal an extra 2 damage, because this level 1 times 2 is 2, so it's gonna be 4 damage. All right, so this is gonna do between either 2 or 4 damage if it hits. All right, so the way spells work is you have a spell number here, so that's spell 6. All right, first I'm gonna exhaust this card. First of all, she moved. I'm gonna keep forgetting this, but she moved, so she had to use her SP for that. All right. Next, we are activating Gore Shot, so I'm gonna exhaust it. All right, and you're gonna add a die equal to your casting. All right, so she doesn't have any special abilities to upgrade this die just yet. All right, so she's gonna roll an extra purple, and it's gonna be 6 plus that purple die, and then the target needs to roll their conviction die to see if they don't get hit by it. All right, so let's roll our purple. So it's 6 plus 5, so we have a target of 11. All right, now to see if they get hit, they're going to roll their conviction, so they're trying to hit an 11. All right, if they don't hit an 11 or more, then they get hit by the attack. If they roll less, then they do get hit by the attack. So it works a bit different than melee attacks and ranged attacks, in that the difference doesn't matter. You just check if you hit or you don't. And so remember, I have 6 plus 5, so it's 11. Let's roll this. I rolled the 2 worst possible results. So the cave sickle does get hit by that magic attack. So now I have to decide whether I want to deal it just 2 damage or deal myself 2 damage to deal it 4 damage. You know what? I'm pretty healthy right now. Let me deal it 4 damage. And that means I'm going to give myself 2 damage. Boom, boom. All right, now I still have 2 SP points left. Technically what I could have done is spend the SP to move an extra 2 spaces. So when you move, I didn't explain this rule before, but you spend 1 SP to move your full movement, and you can spend more SP to get a +2 to your movement. So technically I could have been right over there, but because I don't want to move into their melee range, that would be pretty silly. I think I'm good there, and I'm not going to do anything. Now, these 2 SP are going to stay on my card, so sort of like Flashpoint if you ever played that game. Every round, I'm going to refresh 3, so I'm going to have 5 SP to spend next turn, which is really good for Nightingale later to do maybe a melee attack and a magic attack. And I think that's it for Nightingale. I won't do anything special with her, so she's done. Let's move it down, and let's go to Rook. All right, so Rook's got a movement of 6. Actually, let's take a look at Rook's card stuff. All right, so here's Rook. His special abilities, nothing special, just starts with 14 health. He can equip an extra consumable, and he ignores the first instance of heavy that you're wearing. I'll explain this later when somebody else gets a heavy item, but basically you get -1 movement if you are heavy. All right, but he gets to ignore that because he's so beefy. All right, his special ability is sort of a healing type of thing. I'm actually going to use it right now. All right, so I'll show you how this works. It says once per encounter, you can use this. So I'm going to put my used token on it. So it's been used. All right. And it says gain 2 health tokens. Now these are health tokens that you'll get in the box. All right. I'm going to give this to Rook. And he has a passive ability here that says when these tokens are spent to heal an ally other than yourself, I'm going to give them also an SP, which is an action point, which is pretty good. So I'm going to put this here. This is used. And I'm going to gain 2 health tokens that I can use to heal other people during this round. All right. And this is once per encounter. So after this encounter, I can use it again on the next map. All right, so this is used. I'm going to show you his weapons and stuff as we go, but he's got 2 armor here, extra health, extra defense here as well with these goggles, and he's got some special things going on with his conviction checks and all that stuff. But that's it for Rook. Let's just move. He has a movement of 6, so he's going to go 1. He's not going to make it, but we'll see how far he can get. He's going to go before we start, obviously, I got to spend my SP to move. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so he's here. Now, unfortunately, to move into a space, to move out of a space with an ally, it costs 2 movement points, and to move out of a space with hindering terrain costs 2 movement points. So it would cost 2 movement points to get out of here. So he was here is 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I move 5 to be in the space, I won't have enough to leave the space. So what I'm going to have to do is spend an extra SP to get +2 movement. All right, so technically my movement is 8. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and I think I'm gonna wait here. And the reason I'm gonna wait here is because this guy's gonna be in melee. He's gonna attack me 3 times, and then this guy's gonna do a regular ranged attack. Oh, you know what? You know what? Let me just get close. Let them both attack me for 3 times. I really don't mind because he's got a beefy armor, which is this one over here. He gets armor +2, so they got to deal me a ton of damage just for it to get through. And that's it. So he's got 1 SP left. I mean, it's there. I might use it for a dodge or a counter or whatever I want to do. But anyway, that's that. And I think that's it for Rook. So he's activated. All right, now what's going to happen is when you complete the line of initiative cards. Oops, sorry. Shifted all this over. All right, you're going to just pick it all up. Oh, actually, one thing I did forget to do is I forgot to remove the initiative card of the 1 to 3 because their whole group died. So let's get rid of that. All right, but we're going to take up all this. I'm going to give it a good shuffle. Just for this mission and some of the future missions, I'm actually going to turn my clock here to round 2 or the second go around of these initiative cards. And I'm just going to splay them. Wow, lucky me. It looks like the capsicles are going last. All right. All right, so it looks like Rook is gonna be the first character. All right. Oops, this was 4 damage from him. So I'm already set up here to look at Rook's stuff. So is he gonna do a melee attack? All right, this is all his stuff. I guess so. So first thing you're gonna do is at the start of when you're refreshing the initiative is basically remove every exhausted marker or unexhaust all your stuff. For me, it's removing all these white bordered squares that I'm putting on. All right, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to give every character 3 more SP. All right, so I'm going to do that for all the characters. Quick. All right, and then you're ready to go. All right, so Rook's going to go. All right, and he's got 4 points to spend, so he can actually attack twice if he wants to kill or try to kill both these guys. So I think what he's gonna do is he's going to attack the blue one. Yeah, that's, or you know what, let's just kill this this green one over here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an attack. So let's look at Rook's cards because we haven't looked at them yet. And let's do a regular melee attack. So a melee attack does cost 2 SP. I'm gonna remove him off his card in a couple seconds. But all right, so this, he's gonna roll 2 white dice. These are single-handed weapons. That's why he's holding 2 of them. They're melee weapons. He can exhaust these instead of spending an SP to empower. He can exhaust this card to empower. So that's for sure what I'm gonna do because I'm gonna empower the attack. So I'm just gonna exhaust it. And at the bottom here, as you can see, a combo Warhammer, because they're both Warhammers. He gets a shield, an armor, and it becomes heavy if he has a combo, which he does because they're both Warhammers. So basically by having this, he's heavy, but remember, he ignores the first instance of heavy and he gets an armor, so that's great. All right, so now I'm gonna roll my dice. So it's gonna be 2 white dice plus the empower, which is black. All right, so we're gonna roll this. And basically what I'm trying to hit is the Capesicle 8. All right, just like every other attack. All right, so I roll it. All right, I'm gonna pretty much destroy it. I'm not even gonna look at the icons. If you really want to calculate it, basically every 2 shields is gonna be an extra 2 damage. So it's 2, 4, and the difference of 11 to 8, which is another 3. Don't even want to bother calculating that. He's just gonna get slaughtered. Let's just remove him from the game. All right, done. All right, he only had 2 life left. Okay, so that was, sorry, forgot to remove 2 SP off my character for the attack. All right, next what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna show you the rules of what happens on a break attack. So break attack means when you move out of melee range or move out of a melee situation with another character when you move. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use an SP to move because I wanna move this boulder because he's really strong at moving the boulder. So I'm gonna move here. Now by moving out of his melee threat, even though you're still in melee, it provokes a break attack. All right, so this guy is actually going to attack Rook with a basic attack, and you're going to look at his melee stats. All right, so the Capesicle is going to roll 2 white dice. By the way, if Rook were to completely leave, let's say he would have ran away, the enemy only gets 1 break attack, even though you're leaving his melee range multiple times. Let's say I ran through this whole thing, even though it's moving his range 3 times. Well, he's only going to get 1 break attack in total. All right, so this is going to be the break attack here. And again, I'm using 2 white because there's no other Capesicles in his sphere of influence. Give it a good roll. He rolled a 9. That's below my defense, so that's going to be 0 damage. Or actually, it doesn't even hit. All right, because his defense is 10. All right, next, I'm going to spend another SP point. There you go. To do the environment action or the scenario action, which is moving the boulder. All right, now what we're trying to do is with purple dice, you always do skill checks with purple dice unless indicated, is we're trying to use our strength. So his strength is 6 and we're trying to hit 10 to move the boulder. So I need to roll a 4 on 2 purple dice. All right, so I roll, I got a 7, I succeeded, which means that I get to move this boulder and I get to move it wherever I want. I'm gonna obviously chuck it off the cliff over here so it actually leaves the play area, and let's just toss it over there. All right, and I think that's all I'm going to do with Rook because he's got no more action points. Let's see, defense was 9 plus 1, which is 10, which is good. So I calculated that right. So he's done. So let's move this down. So next up is going to be Nightingale. All right, so Nightingale is going to start off by moving. So remember, she has 5 SP to spend this round because she kept 2 from last round. So she'll spend 1 to move. Now to get out of hindering terrain, remember it costs 2. So she's going to move 2 of her movement to go over here, but she's not going to move anymore because she's going to do a melee attack against that Capesicle that's right in front of her. All right, so we're going to look at her stats here. So she's going to spend 2 SP, so she can get to attack twice actually. But she'll spend 2 XP to do a melee attack, and that's going to be 2 white dice. And she doesn't really have anything special going on here to add to it. Now she could spend another SP to empower it, but you know what? I'd rather attack twice. That might be better. So here we go. We're trying to hit an 8. Let's see what happens. Roll this out, and I got an 8, which is a hit. All right, it's a hit, so I do get to add bonuses. So if I look here, if I got 2 shields, it would be +2, and if I got a star, it would be +1. So unfortunately, I didn't get anything. So even though it was a hit, I don't do any damage because it's 8 minus 8, which is 0, and that's done. All right, so what I'm going to do is, maybe I should have empowered because then I would have got some symbols maybe. I'm going to use another 2 to attack again. All right, so the exact same thing. Let's roll these dice. So I'm trying to hit an 8. I hit an 8. I rolled the exact same number, I believe. No shields. So I hit, but no damage. So we're done. What I'm going to do is, might as well do my gore shot again because it is a sort of free action or free SP action I can do every single round. Let's do that. Remember, I get to roll my purple, trying to hit. So 6 plus 6. Let's see, the conviction of the Capesicle is going to be this. So they're trying to hit a 12. Obviously missed. Sorry about that. So I'm going to deal it 2 damage. So there you go. After 3 attacks, I only dealt it 2 damage. Not the most exciting turn in the world, but that was Nightingale. All right, next, let's go to Zeke. All right, so Zeke's gonna move. So let's lose 1 SP to move. All right, don't forget to move the SP. So he's gonna move at 7. So he's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and be right up here with the Capesicle. All right, so I lost my SP for that. He's gonna actually, instead of using these 2 SP, he's gonna actually use his Blade Works to do a regular attack. All right, remember he rolls 2 white dice. I'm not gonna empower it, just so again I can attack twice. Maybe I should empower it. Nah, you know what? Zeke's pretty good with his weapons. You know what? I'll empower it. So what I'm gonna do is change my mind. I'm gonna spend my 1 SP and I will empower it with the empowered death. Now the danger of this is if I do roll a skull, then I completely miss the attack. It's only 1 in 6, but it could happen. All right, so let's roll. And wow, I did not need to do that because I rolled really well. So it's 13 minus 8, which is 5 damage, plus all kinds of shields that do all kinds of damage. You know what? I'm not even gonna bother looking at this. I only needed to deal 4 damage to him, so he's dead. Boom. Alright, I killed the other crew here. Let's remove their card. I would remove this, but I'm going to need it in a couple seconds, so don't worry about it. And I'm going to draw another combat loot card, and it looks like another 6. And so I'm getting a bunch of 6s. Alright, so there you go. Alright, so that was Zeke's turn. Alright, he's pretty much done. He's going to carry 1 SP into the following turn, and that's good. And there you go. And next is going to be Remy. Alright, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what Remy's going to do is she's going to use 2 SP to use her flying ability, just so she can bypass all this without having to waste action points. So she flies at 7 using her actions. So she's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And because she had 3 SP, 2 to fly, 1 to gain an extra 2 movement. So she's going to move an extra 2. She's going to go 1. 1, because I don't want to activate that totem just yet. So what I think I'm going to do is maybe fly right over. Now, you know what? I'm going to stay where I am because this totem can't see me right because of this red border. You can always draw lines of sight from the middle to the middle. So if I was right over here, if you actually draw an imaginary line, I wish I had a ruler or something to show you. But if you draw a line like this, as you can see, you go from middle to middle and you don't cross this red border. So that means there is line of sight. Whereas if you go like this, I just imagine that there's a line there. You're actually going through this red impenetrable wall over here, which you can't see through. So you know what? I'm good like this. I'm going to stay. I'm going to wait till my crew catches up so that we can finish off this mission. All right, so that's it for round 2. So what we're going to do is go to round 3. Again, I'm going to take my character cards. All right, one rule that I didn't explain yet is the, I believe it's called the exhaust or whatever the mechanic is with these tokens over here. So if you go through a whole round of initiatives and there was no enemies defeated or no enemies spawned or nothing actually happened with the AI, well then you're going to get one of those tokens, and if you get 4 of them, then you automatically fail the mission. All right, not likely going to happen for your first couple of dozen missions, let's just say, but it is a possibility. All right, so let's give this deck a good shuffle. And let's splay them out. And there you go. That's going to be our order for this round. All right, so it looks like Zeke's going to go first. All right, so he's the character over here. So he has a movement of 6. Actually, why did I think I had a movement of 7? He has a movement of 6. All right, so first, remember, at the start of the round, we're going to remove all our exhaustion tokens. We're going to be gaining 3 SP. So he had 1 carried over from before. Let me just do this quick to all the other characters. And there you go. And now we're going to go. All right, so he's going to use 1 SP. So I'm going to use this 1 over here. So he's still got 3 left to move. So he moves at 6. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's going to use his thing here to move diagonally. All right, so he's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he's gonna go 6. All right, and he's going to spend an SP, so he's gonna go back down to 2 to move an extra two spaces. So he's gonna move here, and as soon as he moves here, well then this totem is gonna see him and it's gonna activate. All right, pretty simple. That totem there is going to spawn 3 cavesicles. I already went ahead and read the book just to prep. So it's going to be, let's just draw them all from this group over here. So green, blue, and let's pretend this is the pink one. All right, so let's put the pink one here. One of them spawns next to the loot, and the other 2 are going to spawn right next to the totem. 1 and 2. There you go. All right, so that was that. Now I do have 2 SP left. So what I'm gonna do is definitely do my Blade Works. Let me exhaust it to do a free attack on. Let's do it on the green guy, I guess, for right now. Yeah, let's do it on the green guy because at least if I have a guy here, I can melee the blue guy. All right, so let's do it on the green guy. So what do I roll? I roll a couple of whites because remember the finesse. I'm not going to empower this attack. So let's do it. So I rolled a 9. I'm trying to hit an 8, so I do hit. So it's going to be at least 1 damage on the green guy. I do for every 2 shields, I get plus 2 damage. I did get 2 shields, so it's going to be 1 plus 2 is going to be 3 damage in total. All right, so which one was I attacking? I think I was attacking the green one. Was that what I said? Who knows? All right, but that's the one I decided to attack. All right, so that was one attack. And you know what? Might as well do it again. I'll spend my other 2 SP to do another attack. So I'm going to roll the exact same thing. So let's hope for something better than a 9. And I got a 10. All right, and I think that's going to finish him off. So the difference here is 2 plus the 2 shields again, which is another 2. That's 4 damage. So in total, I did 7 damage. So let's get rid of this. All right, so that was his attack. All right, so we're done with Zeke. Oh, sorry. I did also forget to generate the Capesicle card. Can't forget that because they're going to go next. And they're going to definitely attack Zeke. But that was Zeke, so we're going to move him down. All right, next we're going to move the Capesicles. You already sort of know what their game plan is. You're going to go in order here and do exactly the flowchart thing. So this guy's going to do his melee attack against Zeke. So their melee attack. This guy's not in his sphere of influence, so he's going to roll 2 white dice. And they're trying to hit... let's see, what defenses he has. He has 9 plus 1 here, which is 10. So he has 10 defense. So he's got to hit a 10. He got an 8, so he missed. All right, so that was a miss. So now we're going to activate the red guy over here. So he's obviously not in range. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he can't do his range attack, but he could move and then be in range attack. So he's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's going to move just 1 here. 2 be in ranged attack. And he's going to do the exact same thing. Let's see if he's in his sphere of influence. 1, 2, 3, 4. He is in his sphere of influence. So now he's going to be rolling a white and a orange. So let's see what he gets. And I rolled 2 2s, so that was a complete miss for that Capesicle. All right, so they're both done. All right, next up is Nightingale. All right, so pretty boring turn, I think, for Nightingale. She moves at 7, 6 plus the 1 here. So I don't think she can get in range, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's just move next to Remy here, 7. All right, she doesn't have line of sight to do a magic attack against him because it goes through the red, so she can't do that. She's not in melee range. By the way, whoops, I did have to spend 1 action point to move. Can't forget that. And she could spend an action point to move there and then do a magic attack, but because this thing's at full life, I'd rather Rook get in there and try to bash it with his hammers instead of her being there. But what she could do is actually what I'm gonna do is just to get her out of the way, because Rook does only have a movement of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, he'll be able to make it. All right, so you know what, I'm just gonna leave her there, and that's it for her turn. Pretty simple. All right, up next we're gonna have Remy. All right, now Remy does have a movement of 7, but I'm gonna use 2 of her SP out of 3 to do her flight ability. So remember, you fly, you ignore all the terrain stuff. So she's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to be right next to this Capesicle. Let's see, or maybe she would want to go here. Actually, it doesn't make a difference. She's gonna go here. And now she's going to finish her turn because she's actually going to face this Capesicle's attack, but she's going to keep an SP just so she can try to dodge it. She has ways of dodging. Maybe she'll get a counter attack and try to kill the Capesicle. But I want to show you how counter attacks and dodging works. That's why I'm just going to have her sit there and not do anything. All right, so that's it for Remy. All right, so Rook's going to go up next. He's going to use an SP. And he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's only going to move up to here. Now he's going to attack this guy. Actually, one thing that I did forget to mention when Zeke attacked is if you're attacking into hinder terrain, you get a -1 to your attack. But because his last attack was so high and I was dealing so much damage, I kind of screwed up his first attack. But pretend that first attack had a -1 damage on it. But he would have killed it anyway. So now Rook's going to be attacking the Capesicle here. And instead of hitting an 8, he actually has to hit a 9. All right, did forget that rule. Sorry about that. All right, so let's look at his stats again. Remember, he's going to get to empower this one here. Now, there's no point of empowering this one. You can't empower twice. I forgot to mention that. There's only one black die in the game, so you only get to empower one. So he's going to get 2 white dice and a black die. Let's see if he can hit the 9. It's going to be kind of tough, maybe 50-50. And obviously, completely whiffs on it. Rolls a 5. Is there anything else he could have done? Actually, I did need to spend the 2 SP there for the attack. Just looking around, is there anything else I can do? Not really. That's about it. And we're pretty much done for the round. So we're going to raise this. Oops. We're going to raise this to 4. I'm going to take all our characters here. Now, there's a good chance we're still going to activate before the Capesicles to try to deal it some damage. Let's give it a shuffle. I'm going to splay them out. And there you go. Looks like Nightingale is going to go first. All right, but remember, before doing this, you're going to give every character their 3 SP. Just do that quick with everyone. 3 SP. All right, and we're ready to go. So Nightingale is going to go first. So I think what she's going to do is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she's going to be right over there. So she's going to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're all surrounding this Capesicle right over here. All right, so it did cost me 1 SP to move, and it's going to cost me 2 to attack. So I'm just going to spend 3 in total. So her attack is a white die. I'm going to actually spend another SP to empower the attack. So let's spend that SP over here. It's kind of useless to hold on to so many. All right, and let's do it. Try to hit a 9. All right, so I hit a 9 exactly, and it's good that I empowered it. All right, so let's see. I got 9 and a bunch of icons. So let's look at here. So for every 2 shields, it's +2, and every burst is +1. All right, so I have 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to be an extra 4 damage. So it's 9 minus 9, which is 0, plus 4. It's going to be 4 damage to this Capesicle right over here. All right. So that's her attack. Now what she's going to do is try to finish it off with the gore shot. So she's going to activate it. All right, alternative, she can actually gore shot this guy. Which is probably a better idea. You know what? Let me gore shot him, because I'm sure one of these 2 guys are definitely going to finish it off. So she's going to gore shot this guy. So she's going to roll her magic. So 6 plus 5. Actually, she gets to empower it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So 6 plus 5 is 11. Now their conviction check is a white and a purple. So they're trying to get to 11. They miss, so they're going to get hit by it. So she's going to take 2 damage. And you know what? Let me take the 2 damage as well to deal with 4 damage in total. That's just because Rook is right here, and he's probably going to heal me before the end of the mission. So I'll deal with 4. And I'll deal myself an extra 2 by flipping this over. So I'm at 4 damage in total. And that's going to be it for Nightingale. Next up, we're going to have Rook, who's going to probably heal and attack that guy, but we'll see. Okay, so Rook's going to spend 2 of his 3 to do an attack. He's going to exhaust this to empower the attack. So it's going to be 2 white and a black die. All right, I guess you're getting the point of how to attack at this point. Remember, trying to hit a 9 because he's getting the +1 because of hindering terrain. I got a 10. And a ton of icons. You know what? I pretty much just need to do 2 damage. I got so many shields. I'm not going to bother calculating it, but he's going to be dead. All right, so he's done. All right. Next, what I'm going to do with Rook is I'm going to spend an SP to use one of my heals. All right, and the heal basically means spend one SP, which I did. A figure within my sphere of influence heals for 6, and there you go. All right. So I'm gonna do that on Nightingale, so she's gonna heal up the full life. All right, and I get to discard this token. All right, that's gonna be it for Rook. Next is gonna be Remy. So unfortunately, Remy's gonna go again before she's gonna get the counter. I was sort of hoping for the cave sickles so I can show you how counter works, but maybe next mission we'll see. All right, so what does Remy want to do? Okay, so Remy's got 4 action points. I'll use 2 to attack, 1 to move, and 1 to open up this chest. Probably what I'm gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna use 2 to attack, so do that. So remember, her weapon is 2 white dice. Now I'm trying to hit an 8 because he's not in the hindering terrain. So let's just roll this. So I got 8. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything great. Looking at this, actually I got super lucky. Actually, I can use this to re-roll one of my dice. You know what I'm gonna do? Actually, I don't need to because I'm gonna kill it anyway. My hammer helm does a minimum 1 damage, and every shield is a damage. All right, so I rolled 1 shield plus my +1. That's 2 damage, even though it's 8 versus 8. And that's the 2 damage that this one needed to die, so it's dead. Let's remove it from the board. There you go. Let's remove the card because they're all done. Let's remove this because we won't need it anymore for the rest of the mission. And I'm going to draw 1 more loot because that was the last one from that group. And it looks like another 6. Maybe I didn't shuffle that deck properly. Right, all a bunch of 6s. All right. And like I mentioned, she's going to use 1 SP to move. I'm going to go next to the loot. And then I'm going to spend an SP to pick up the loot. I'm not sure if you need to spend an SP to pick up the loot. I don't remember. But I had the XP anyway, so I'm going to pick up the loot. And I already know what it says in the book. You're going to read the book, use the red viewfinder. And it says, get 2 random consumables. So what I'm going to do is just shuffle this and just take the 2 off the bottom of the deck. All right, so I'm going to get the bottom of the deck. Let me give it a better shuffle because these were all sorted before. Just because I want different items. All right, and it looks like I got the same. Anyway, let me not deal with this. I'll deal with this later. Basically, this is going to go into her pack. She can't hold all of this items, so that's why we're going to share it at the end of the mission. All right, so she's done. Next, let's just finish off the mission right away. Zeke's going to go, and he's going to move. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, and use his diagonal movement, 4, 5, and 6. And there you go. We finished the mission in 4 rounds, which is pretty incredible. I don't think I've ever done it this fast. So there you go. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the book. All right. I'm going to go back to the mission. All right. And you're going to basically read with the red viewfinder on the win condition, which basically means go to the next page and whatever. We also have to score our grading over here. And this is where you would have saw the red totem, blue totem stuff, and the blue loot. When you put it here, it tells you get 2 consumables and you get +2 points when calculating your grade. All right, and that's pretty much how you play the first mission of the game. Come back for the next one. I'll go probably over the next mission.